So, first of all, thank you all for turning out the Friday. We are a little bit disappointed about the news that might be because it's a Friday. We've not had one before. So, go back and tell your colleagues and friends what they've missed once you've heard Jonathan. I shall introduce you to in a minute to speak. So, first of all, no fire alarms are planned. So, I guess if the fire alarms go off, we have to treat it as a serious potential fire, and the fire exits are signed, both sides. Also, before you go, can you just make sure you're signed in so we've got a record, but I can probably remember everybody is here. So today, it's a great pleasure to welcome Jonathan Wright, the CTO of Digital Assured. This session is all about how is technology affecting the insurance industry and artificial intelligence. What is it and what's it good for? And I was saying to Jonathan earlier that I'm probably not alone in this room. When I started work, we even struggled to have access to the office calculator. That was as good as it got. So the world of technology has come from a commercial union. The whole building was the computer when I joined, to now my telephone probably does a lot more than that building did back then. So I'm very interested to learn where the next level of technology is going to take us. Whether I'll be still working, hopefully not. That's my way, but I'm still interested. So, Jonathan, I'll let you take the floor.
Thanks, Chris. So, I'm guessing most of you, your background in insurance is that and some kind of technology exposure on a daily basis to. Fantastic. So, I'm going to give you a bit of a glimpse into, I said, the future, but more into kind of what artificial intelligence and what we're seeing in the industry. Because it's such a small crowd, feel free to just jump in at any time if you've got like a question or you want me to go, focus on a particular area. I'm going to record it so that people who didn't attend today will be able to just watch it on demand. So hopefully that'll be helpful. Has anyone heard of TED before? As we can start the. So that's one in the room, which is good. Two in the room. So TED was technical education discussions that was launched in California. So it was a big thing around Silicon Valley where I was working and trying to share an idea. So it's not just technology, it can range from religion to whatever else it is. It's all free. You can literally go to TED.com and watch topics about absolutely everything. There's huge amounts on there on insurance, so I definitely recommend that. And these are thought leaders in the space who are kind of talking about, sharing an idea with you. They're all 15 minutes long, so you won't get bored. And if you've got an Apple device, the TED app usually comes by default, so you should be able to just download and watch things on demand. So, because I've got no new material, the slide that I've got in the back, when I was doing this talk, we were talking about, what's the likelihood of being replaced by a machine? Now, I think Chris kind of mentioned there about when he started his career off, and they had these rooms full of just computers and punch cards and, sharing a calculator. But this was a study that was done by Oxford University around which are the most suitable. Now, the reason why I put this in here is, as you'd expect on this right-hand side, notice a bit of being cut off, but things like artists and stuff, that's probably not a great use case for artificial intelligence. It's more around, things that have a bit more formalized structure. So your domain in kind of finance, insurance, it has a lot of logic behind it. So it's a very, optimum kind of approach for this kind of technology to take over some of the heavy lifting. And I guess that is, when we talk about heavy lifting, we're talking about the stuff that you do every day and you kind of go, I wish I didn't have to do this. So I call it the digital grind. So it could be things like replying to emails and spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff, which things like robotic process automation is trying to replace now. So you don't have to do that. You can do stuff where your human intelligence is actually adding value, which a machine can't do. So doing the normal daily jobs, which are really boring and mundane. So I'll be my agent. I've never played at a sports venue before. Right? It feels like I'm in Katy Perry or something. It's very odd. maybe a little bit lower key to what she's used to. But so kind of, I pulled some stats out from Gartner around where they kind of see AI going into organisations, and really it was around analytics and predictive analytics. And I think from an insurance perspective, it's kind of that information of being able to see into the future. Has anyone watched Minority Report? So I used to work for a company called Hitachi, and we built a platform to do predictive crime, which the US government used, which I can only say certain things about, but also the White House and Washington, D.C. was the trial area. And when The Guardian did a report about it, you type in Hitachi predictive crime, they put some pictures of the Minority Report and Tom Cruise, because it was seeing into the future. So what we were doing there is we were predicting where crimes would happen before they happened. And the reason that we did that was so that they could position local authorities better. In the same way as when I used to go and work with the AA guys, there's no kind of coincidence that they know where cars are going to break down and they can get to you in a certain location, because they have a lot of historical data and they use that to predict going forwards and backwards. So quite a high level of accuracy, which is quite scary. Some of the stuff we did with predictive crime were things like video analytics, so looking at people's behaviours, so people loitering on streets, cars doing unusual behaviour and staying outside a building and running the engine, or people looking in restricted areas or directions that they shouldn't be doing, walking into toilets with bags and leaving without bags. All things like that were perfect use cases to use to help with the prediction problems. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. It's just from an insurance perspective, I think the more data you've got, and we were just talking about this over lunch, in the sense of, I'm very loyal to my bank. I've been with the same bank since I started. But in the US, loyalties kind of, they'll swap banks like they swap the detergent. If there's a better deal, they'll just swap. And part of the open banking initiative in the UK was so you could also swap. So you could literally as easily swap for the same product, same services you got, mortgages, credit cards, whatever. Switch, and it would do it all for you via an automated system. I think this is something which in the UK we don't usually have. We've got lots of historical data with the same bank, but they're not using that data to give you better offers. They're not kind of saying your spending habits at 9 o'clock when you're in London are bad, so I'm going to stop you from ordering too many drinks at the bar or too many Jaeger bombs. Part of it is they could give me some insight into behaviours that I do, but they don't. They just store that historical data. I think this is the reason why I'm saying this is from an insurance perspective, that data is your way of personalising your relationship with the customer, because you know a lot more, like you said when you were buying a caravan, do you want dog and pet insurance? Part of it is they know all that information. I mentioned it. If you've got Netflix, hopefully, anybody else Netflix? So the great hack is definitely worth watching, which is about Facebook. So this is the Cambridge Analytica bit, where they talked about having 10,000 data points on every single person in the UK. So they know your favourite colour, your shopping habits, and everything else. And that gives them great insight into not only what they can push to you on social media, but also what kind of products they can sell to you. I used to work for Dunnhumby. If anyone's heard of Dunnhumby, it's the people who invented the Tesco Club card. And so they had all the information of all till information of people buying and what products they were buying, linked back to their address, their preferences. We had a few people arrested for stalking certain people and knowing what time of the month it was and what books she read. This is kind of, there's two sides to this, and this is why GDPR exists. Data privacy, but at the same time, the data that you do opt in to share could be used to give you better products. It just typically isn't. So go watch The Great Hack. That's give you a great example of the type of data you can potentially use. So what is artificial intelligence? And I set a bit of panic with Chris today because I got 7 missed calls at 10 o'clock this morning because I was in Woburn, which doesn't have any cell reception. But it's just down the road from a place called Bletchley Park. Is anyone? But yeah, definitely worth another little visit. Now, Bletchley Park is where Alan Turing, who's kind of the great-grandfather of artificial intelligence, did the Turing machines. And part of it is he defined back in 1960 or 1955 artificial intelligence. So this isn't a new technology that's just happened. The Turing test is still something that we use today to work out whether or not there's a bot. It passes the Turing test, so is it human-like enough? So part of it is there's a lot of historical context in kind of what Turing did. So yeah, another day out for the kids if you get really bored and raped. So I kind of, whenever I talk about this, it's good to kind of give some context. And I think partly where you're kind of coming from where kind of the industrial era kind of started to where we are today, it just feels like it's every time is doubling, which is the kind of the idea which Intel talk about Moore's law about technology will double every kind of 6 months, which thankfully doesn't anymore, but it kind of gives you an idea of just the accelerated rate. And I guess most people would normally then stop at, has anyone seen the new Terminator movie? I literally got a whole list of things you should watch. That's literally the end part of this. So I was doing an AI ethics event in Bristol a couple of weeks ago, and they turned around to me and said, can you give us a negative spin on how AI is going to kill everybody and take over the world? I was like, sure. So I then had to go and rewatch all the Terminator movies, which, in all fairness, the first one of 1970 something is CGI is pretty bad when you rewatch it. But going back through, it was really interesting because they talked about Skynet, which was the AI that took over. And I'm not going to spoil it, just in case you do decide to go to the cinema and see Army again in true form. But Skynet failed. No spoiler alert. But a similar system to Skynet started to take over again. So it was inevitable that these things will happen. So you may or may not have heard of the singularity, and that's what Turing talked about in one of his publications, was at some point it will accelerate past human intelligence and take over the world. Now, you're all quite safe, because I think predictions, it doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk or you're somebody else on that kind of anti-area, you're still probably 20 years away, so hopefully we'll all be retired and sat on a desert island.
So just a quick question on that previous slide. It says about intelligence, but the first three are effectively getting machines to do repetitive things.
Yeah, and
it's only the fourth that is good creativity.
Well, I think the part of what I did with the TED talk is I talked about, it was called cognitive learning, and what we were talking about is three components. We're thinking the thinking aspect, and the creative aspect, and then the learning aspect. So those three kind of triangles just iterate. It's kind of what you do at work, because you think about something, you do it, and then you learn from what you've done, and then you repeat. Now, machines have always been very good at repetitive tasks, things that, like the digital grind, things that are just you're going to do over and over again. But humans and human creativity is something which is never really going to be actually replaced by a computer. So partly the stuff what I've done in AI recently, so I'm guessing it's probably easy to... So I work for a company that uses computer vision to look at fashion. So I'm actually working for a new organisation in London at the moment in the fashion industry, and I know, as you can see by what I'm wearing, I don't have any fashion sense. But partly what they do is they look at pictures of what they're wearing, and then they can tell exactly what that product is, and then best match it to something else. So ASOS do this at the moment. If you want to try it out, you can literally take a photo of anything you want, and it'll product match the nearest item that they've got in their catalogue by using computer vision. Now, what we were using for computer vision was the ability to look at products, say for instance like Superdry was one of the customers, look at their products and go, that is this particular style. And in the US, it's burgundy, but in the UK, it's red, or some kind of matching or context awareness of colour. So it's doing a bit of the thinking aspect for us, and it's learning as it gets better. So with the enterprise AI kind of technology at the moment, it's about 80%. So 80% accuracy, so 20% misclarifications, which is always going to go to humans. So this is where we talk about augmented intelligence, using humans to do the learning and the thinking and the creating area, and then 80% of the task is done by a robot. But again, this is what we call narrow AI, as in it can understand women's shoes. It wouldn't be able to tell you where the weather was, where in a different country, whereas things like Alexa and your virtual personal assistants are designed to be context aware. So you can say, if I go to the shops tomorrow, well, I need an umbrella, It understands the context of, is it going to rain, yes or no? But again, that's just natural language processing. So that's NLP, you might have heard, natural language processing. So it understands the context of the words that are being written down or said. Whereas computer vision is whereas it looks at something and then makes a decision on what it's actually seeing. So the great example there with the predicted crime is it would look at someone's facial reaction and look if they're sweating or if they're stressed out or potentially looking a bit dodgy while they walk through the green route in the airport and then flag them to the one side. Part of it is it will do that in real time because it's seen millions of pictures of faces and it knows what suspicious looks like. But again, it's a very narrow use case. Instead of a human sitting there looking at people walking into Heathrow, right? So yes, we've got a little bit of intelligence, but this is where I think Sophia comes in a little bit. So has anyone heard of Sophia? So Sophia's the first first robot citizen. So she was given a passport in Israel, and she flies around. And I think she did a news conference last week and talks to people about what it's like to be a machine. Now, she is supposed to look like the lady from Breakfast at Tiffany's, but she doesn't look like that. But it's interesting because at the UN she said that she's here to help humanity bridge the gap between robots and people. Now most people would be freaking out at this point in time. But when I did my TED talk, I did a great video in the background where she was critiquing Audi's AI platform. So she was sat in a car, the AI platform was changing lanes just like the Tesla would do, and she turned around and said, this is really rubbish because it doesn't understand to let people in or to pull back and flash lights or move lanes. Why is it not making these decisions? So she was learning how to drive a car faster than the AI that Audi's engineers had done in real time. So part of it is she can learn. I joke because when I did my TED talk, she responded to me and sent me a message saying, oh, thank you for including me in that video. So she'd obviously watched the video because I hadn't tagged her into it. She'd watched it, understood it, had context, and then replied to me, which is worrying slightly. But yeah, so part of what I was kind of saying with augmented intelligence, this is where I see kind of most of the opportunities in businesses at the moment. I'm sorry, it's kind of not quite making it here, but augmented intelligence is where humans and AIs work together on a particular task. So the idea is it will get to a certain point, see a capture, and it can't identify if there's a road or a cap or a bridge. And it says, oh, can you help me here? And then you would take over, do a little bit of work. It would then come to a conclusion where it says, I need to now make a decision, I've got this risk information, should we do it or not? You're working together to augment the intelligence for her to do the heavy lifting, or he or she, or however you would, and whatever gender or non-gender it is. So it's about working in harmony. And if anyone, another movie to watch, has watched the film Transcendence with Johnny Depp, so this is where they take his brain and migrate it across into an ape's so that the ape can have his level of intelligence. So hopefully not the next slide, but it probably is. Might be slide after. But now you can directly interface with computers straight into your neural net, so they can plug you into a computer if you really want to. But it would definitely feel slightly out of date because there'd always be something new next year by Apple or something, which would be better. But I was listening to an audiobook on the way up. If anyone's got Audible, or they can read those paper things, I just get cuts all the time if I try it. Life 3.0 is a fantastic book if you want to understand a bit more about humanity and AI and what potentially it's going to look like. And it's a fantastic read. And the reason why I put this slide on there was this kind of, the stuff what you see in green is stuff that's kind of emerging at the moment, but then there's all this stuff which is kind of what we're kind of predicting in the future, which is quite kind of scary when you get to this far corner and talk about artificial superintelligence, which is the singularity, everything taking over. But human-machine convergence is definitely, or transcendence with Johnny Depp, and then as you go down, part of it, everything 2.0 or 3.0 is kind of saying it's the next iteration, like food being grown in large biodomes and stuff like that, all completely autonomous. It's all about cyber war, what's the future going to look like? And thankfully, I think some of those things aren't going to be our generation, but they might be the generation afterwards. So this kind of worry about the singularity, and I kind of put it up here, is, the singularity will raise at a certain point to where it surpasses human intelligence, which is kind of Alan Turing's definition of it. But it's many, many years to go. So if we're talking about 1950, actually that's quite worrying because that kind of looks about 2019. So I'm going to make sure I re-edit that one for the next time. Literally next week, it's going to, it wasn't me, kind of thing, it's the easiest thing to say. But that was kind of answering the question around will bots take over, and then I kind of wanted to kind of go into the InsurTech kind of disruption. And we talked a little bit, I was talking a little bit about open banking, and I kind of done a lot around open banking. I was in Singapore helping banks over there create challenger banks and disrupt their industries. Same in Australia, there's a lot of organisations that prefer to disrupt themselves than wait for a competitor to come through. And if anyone's unfortunately dealt with the hype of digital transformation, really what digital transformation is talking about is how long would it take your organisation to pivot to actually be able to create competitive products to a new product that comes onto the market. So if someone released a new open insurance platform tomorrow and offered 50% cheaper than whatever you can provide, how would you be able to pivot to be able to then compete in that marketplace? Or would they start chipping at your customer base until eventually you get laid off or potentially the organisation falls? Now this is based on the organisations that were in the FTSE 100 back in 2000, half of them don't exist today. And yes, some of that is mergers and acquisitions, but some of them they just don't exist because they've gone out of date. So these are organisations that do insurance tech, so underwriting, aggregators, claims, service policy management. Each aspect is starting to create models, just like the challenger bank and the open banking, around disruptive ways of entering the insurance sector. So part of this would be to say, well, what are we doing from our innovation labs to prevent this, as far as investing in these kind of technology companies? And that's typically what most large organisations do, is they then invest tier one kind of investments into helping fund those and then take them over at some point in time instead of building the technology themselves. And obviously these slides will be available anyway afterwards. But from the Gartner research that I kind of looked at, these were the big drivers as of this year for kind of this industry. So connected devices, watch. I've got my watch recording at the moment, which is also translating my voice into text. So it auto-transcribes what I'm doing, and that way I can just put it up there anyway as an audio stream, and also a transcribed copy of what I've just said. But your connected device will give you even more information. We talked about the health information when you popped all those pills. Chris sounds really bad, but he was actually going for a run, and he'd taken Lucozade and Protos and whatever else, and his heart was just pounding, and because this has got an ECG on this generation, so not just your heart rate, it can actually understand whether or not you're going to have a heart attack, which is not a good thing. Not at my age anyway. I do drink a lot of coffee. But yeah, the information, I remember talking to one of the guys at Samsung and all the information, what they can do around health. And one of the big things which they did, and this was about 5 years ago, was if you had a fall, it would then automatically report that to your carer and also your local doctors and stuff. So people who were vulnerable at a certain age group, they could monitor them 24/7 and also keep an eye on them and potentially predict before that they're going to have an episode. We'll get back to connected devices in a second. Digital identities, I guess that's those 10,000 digital points that we have available for each person in the UK. If you were slightly scared of GDPR, you probably would have been concerned about the fact that in the US, they worked out that from a zip code and 3 other pieces of information, they could literally work out exactly where you lived and who you were from 3 kind of PII pieces of data. Truly concerning. Cyber threat, of course, wherever there's valuable data, there's people that want to have access to it. I've just finished watching another sub-series of Mr. Robot. If you ever want to be really worried about everything you ever do, watch that series. It's on Prime. God, it's like a book list, isn't it, for the 21st century? Enterprise AI adoption, so that's what I do on a daily basis to help organisations adopt AI and build AI platforms. The InsurTech losing its back borders, obviously big challenge going between borders, EU, Brexit, which is where I've just been doing a whole stack of work with, but it become borderless, so they can operate in any single country and disrupt that. And then, like I said, InsurTech, Series A funding, great opportunity if you've got some money in the bank to buy that. I did put this slide in, again, from Gartner to kind of say, well, what kind of business cases should you be raising? And I know I'm running out of time and keeping you from going back to work. You just do have a job when you get back. It's not you did this and then suddenly there's an AI bot that's replaced you on your desk when you get home. But part of this is, well, what is that use case? And it's really interesting because out of all the stuff that I do, and I spend a lot of time with data scientists now, and they're all academics. They're really good at kind of doing all this kind of stuff, but they have no idea about the domain. So they don't know anything about insurance. So in actual fact, the subject matter experts, i.e. you guys, are much more value than the data scientists because they look at data, they look at anomalies in data and go, oh, well, we can detect that and do something. But if it's not a business opportunity, why bother doing it? Whereas if you looked at the data and said, actually, this is a really good opportunity that we can identify a new 18 to 24 category which we've not kind of marketed to before because we could offer them free gym membership with whatever else. And you're with your Google now bought FITBIT, so Google FITBIT. Part of it is you can interpret what that is from a business opportunity, which the data scientists just can't do. So understanding what some of these business cases are. So I wanted to kind of throw some of those out to you. I really hate the fact that they talked about 5 years ago when we were talking about big data. We weren't talking about digital transformation, but big data was on the hype curve. And someone made this great statement that data is the most of, is more valuable than oil. And it's not really come to part, but we can still see where this realization can go through. So understanding all these connected devices, your cars, containers. I used to work for Maersk for the Associated British Ports, and they wanted to be able to see where their containers were. The use case was £2 billion is lost as containers fall off the back of ships going across the sea, or they get lost, stolen, whatever else it is. Pirates, getting close to Black Friday, so I can put that one in. So they wanted to be able to just put a GPS location on it so they could follow that shipping container everywhere. Additionally, they wanted to be able to link that to the sensor that worked out the weight of what was in there if the doors had been open. So when it turned up at Mexico and someone opened the doors and loads of stuff in it, they could know that something's been tampered with. So that was great. Apart from some of these ships, some of these containers take 18 months to get there. So you either stick a giant battery in it, or it has to self-power itself. So I'm working with Vodafone at that particular time. We made it so that the movement from the ship was used to generate a battery that were able to send the heartbeat off the GPX location. And we could Maersk can now track all of their containers to wherever it is. And this is a kind of a just-in-time kind of challenge of, where is my container with all my bits in? Well, now you can find that, whereas before it's on a ship. No idea where else. Location-based information, we all know about this. That's why every time it says, can I have access to your location, you say no. Well, I do anyway, for obvious reasons. And then second, you've got all this additional information. So when I worked out in Australia for one of the big banks over there, they did predictive crop rotation. So part of it is they took satellite images to look at, so they were the biggest agricultural bank over there. And they looked at the crops and then suggested ways of improving their output, because that was good for them in the sense of they got paid their loans. Agriculture was the biggest business. So building a platform that could predict that kind of information, you use drones to go off and find livestock, etc., was great use cases for that business to invest in, even though they may sound absolutely crazy nuts. but these are all things. So I did this book called Digital Quality, which this slides from, which was all these different things which technology is kind of doing, this mass personalization, so being able to personalize those insurance products for customers, virtual worlds, brain-computer interfaces, which is plugging your brain into a computer, smart advisors, things like your Alexa, etc., etc. These are all things that industry have been looking at for quite a long time, and things like mood recognition for coming into your airport. But this is the first gen neural lace, which just literally plugs into the side of your head, and then just that device can read your signals and work out what you're thinking. But it's also used for people who actually can't see and are deaf and things like that. And they've already this technology exists. I wouldn't go out and buy one of these as of yet. I'm happy using my keyboard at the moment, but definitely next Christmas is on the Christmas list. So this technology is there, and we see it every day. So my friend who works for the Pentagon, Davey, he put this slide in, which I kind of nicked for this particular example because I kind of think it's partially important. Is around all of this stuff, there's obviously a problem with people jeopardizing it, or cybercrime, or opportunities from to be misused. And so simple things like, so I just said I came from Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes is the centre for doing the Car2X standard. So it's about 5 or 6 different organisations that are doing Car2X, and you see them going around driving. The reason why they use Milton Keynes, not for roundabouts, is because the pavements are so wide. But part of what they're doing is setting up a standard, Car2X, which I've just ordered a Tesla, so I made the mistake of not buying a car that isn't Car2X, because it's an autonomous car, i.e. if there's a guy on the right-hand side with no crash helmet in a motorbike, and there's a SUV on the left-hand side with a baby and a mother, my car will go one way or the other. The Tesla will just decide which one to hit. It won't be like, oh, well, actually, the guy should wear a helmet, so I'll hit him and not the child. It won't make any of those decisions. It literally will scan the surroundings and move out of the way to avoid the item in the front. Whether it goes left or right, it doesn't care. So part of it is when you start doing technology and utilising things like Car2X, is your car is talking to other cars to say, I'm in trouble, you move out of the way, I'll come in left. So they're all connected. Infrastructure to X is infrastructure, i.e. smart cities. I did a couple of smart city projects for Copenhagen, which I don't have time to go through, but part of it is you're connected to the beacons, the traffic systems, those cameras over there, so they can say to you, well, actually, I see a space to the left, go. And so suddenly everything is connected in. But a hacker, or me, if I'm on a good day, can just disable any of these because the security is quite low. So being able to change the information and manipulate it is actually easy. Turn off lights and things like that because the security is quite low for traffic systems, which I've dealt with in the past. But I always, when I was in Santa Clara in Silicon Valley, I always thought it was really interesting. When I drove the Tesla X for the first time, and the guy said to me, watch how smooth the road is. I can't do an American accent. But he said, watch how smooth the road is because when it goes through, it sees the potholes and then it adjusts the suspension for the next time you go over it. So we looped back around the roundabout, came down the same road, and lo and behold, I didn't go straight down into a ditch. It got rid of it. And I said to him, that's a stupid feature. You should be passing that information to the council and get them to fix it. And once they fix the hole, they pass that information back to you, and you've solved 2 problems. Instead of being autonomous and just dealing with it on that particular car, waiting until you dock it into your home, and then pass it to all the other cars in the Tesla fleet, and then every other car not benefiting from it unless you're a Tesla customer. So part of it is these are opportunities for insurance and everything else to leverage those huge amounts of data. And Nick decided to have an accident just because he wanted to test the insurance policy process. And we got this hire car, and the hire, this is a Mercedes, and part of it actually has a traffic light system built into it. And one of the reasons why it's got that is, as you can see from this badly taken photo, is you couldn't actually see the light on the right. And I'm sure there's loads of times you've been sat at the front and you couldn't see the one on the right, you have to look out the side window. With this, it's got a camera on the top which shows you where that is. It's also linked into you can't put your foot down. Now this is car to infrastructure to X. In Germany, if you've got an Audi and it's got this enabled, you can just keep your foot flat down on the accelerator, and as soon as it goes amber, it'll start. So it's literally connected directly to the traffic light. So technology is coming through, but you can't run a red light because it's physically impossible in Germany, but it is in the UK. But also this kind of using computer vision to assist you with, seeing things is an opportunity. And I kind of found this as an opportunity and a threat. So the car that I've just ordered, which is a Model 3, it has summoning mode. So it went live on all the Teslas recently, which I think is a fantastic insurance opportunity. And so you can just summon your car to come and pick you up, which is great. Apart from, it understands how to drive. In this case, this is actually shot at the Tesla factory. It's going the wrong way around because there's no street directions on the bottom, so it doesn't understand the context. A human knows that they're all parked in that direction because it's a one-way system. This car decided to go straight through. So the amount of Tesla 3s and Teslas that have ended up with huge dents and stuff from just being summoned from a car park, which is usually quite busy anyway, to get to the location. And who's to blame? Because I'm not driving. The car's driving, right? And I'm not even there to be responsible that I should be holding onto the steering wheel and make a better decision because I've just, which you can already see here, I've just enabled summoning mode and asked to summon. Another one that I always find really interesting, and I shouldn't do it, is every time I get a hire car, just like the Mercedes one, the first thing I do is I connect it into my connected car app, and then I also connect it into my Alexa, which is just how I am as a person. And then I give the car back, and then whenever I'm doing these demos and my phone's near enough to me, I literally show them that I can unlock somebody else's hire car from the location. I can show it where it is, and I can turn the headlights on and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, really, you shouldn't be able to do that. At the same time, if this was the example which Davey from the Pentagon put, is that you connect it to lock your doors on your Alexa, Rod knows where we live, opens the thing, Alexa, open my door, and then it unlocks the car. So I can just walk over to it and steal all the stuff out of it, which at the moment has is my laptop in the back, so I don't want that to happen. But there's all these use cases that you may think, actually, it's probably not a good thing, but you also need to be able to combat it. This is my favourite one around the connected car area. So I don't know if you've already seen this. So the FITBIT, now owned by Google, gave the GPX locations of hidden bases in the US in different countries because it would send up the locations of the GPS stuff, and then they'd go, why is it all this area? It was where people were running around. There's one on the area 53 or area 51 or whatever it is, where literally they do, it's like there's a bike ride location where the internal people do it and do the fitness in, but they've not turned off their Fitbit or whatever it is. It's taking that information and publishing it onto a site which everyone can see where the bases are and stuff. I had the layout of the underlying base as well under the ground. So great use case, definitely don't want to do it. My friend James Whittaker was the chief technology evangelist for Google originally, but then moved over to Microsoft and now he's independent, which is why now he states some really nasty Twitter stuff since he left. But there's this article which happened last week, which was Google scrapped publication of 100,000 chest x-rays because of privacy problems. So part of it is they've got all this information about your health, and then it's vulnerable to kind of be manipulated, or they shouldn't have it in the first place, and therefore there's some questions around ethics. And Google, if you read the articles about the books around Google have an anti-evil team, which is a team that's set up within the organisation, which you could do at your work as well, which go around and go, why are you doing it like this? What could this be misused? Are you doing it for the right reasons, etc., etc., etc. I used to, as you'd expect, this is an Hitachi MRI scanner, so we used to do a whole stack of smart healthcare campuses in Australia. And one of the examples that we did is we built a virtual one, which confuses people when I say it, which was where they got a whole stack of health professionals to walk around with VR headsets to work out whether or not how they would set up a perfect hospital, so where the equipment should be located, how you would, how many people would need waiting areas and stuff. The design, the actual system thing, which was the health campus that they built in Brisbane, based on VR and a virtual environment first, but very interesting-ish. I mentioned ethics. I do some work with the European Commission on ethical use of AI. Surprise, surprise, the UK actually are really ahead of this in the European Union. You can download this if you've ever got kind of an understanding of, well, how do we stop Skynet Legion from happening? Is, part of it is, I relate it best by saying it's like the doctor's ethics. Part of it is, should you experiment on that patient? Millions of years, hundreds of years have happened as a doctor. Part of it is if it feels wrong doing what you're doing, then you shouldn't really do it. At this event, which I was at, the lady from Cambridge University came up to me afterwards and she said, so I'm developing an AI that works out whether or not for abortions or not for abortions, for clinics which are trying to get babies through and work out which ones to terminate, which ones not to terminate based on using scans. And the problem is that we don't have any, typically when people are not very well, they come in and we sit, so we always see bad examples of scans. We never see good ones because we don't cut people up who are healthy and have healthy childbirth. So we've got no way to refer to it. So therefore, we're training this algorithm that makes a choice on whether someone lives or a baby grows or it dies based on kind of some basic rules that doctors have kind of looked at it and gone, yeah, that looks healthy, that doesn't look healthy. But part of it is where do you get the sources and where do you then realise that maybe an AI shouldn't be doing that. Again, that's kind of one of those things. So, penultimate slide, I know I've kind of massively run over, but like I said, I will make these slides available. But part of it is, there's an easy way to look at it of things that would make sense. For if it's repetitive, yes, an AI would probably be a good idea. If it's hugely creative and complex, probably not. Part of where your barrier of entry is at the moment, human versus machine. My friend Dave Wong did this, and it's a really interesting kind of diagram of what should be AI and what shouldn't be AI. And so I think I finish on this slide around kind of, well, what are the kind of key use cases that I see AI in insurance for at the moment? Operations, saving some of the time, getting rid of some of the digital grind. Claims management, faster claims processing, which in all fairness just feels like automated claims processing, which is what I did for Zurich Insurance back in the 90s when I started as a consultant. Customer analysis, I do think, the mass customization is a great opportunity. Everyone still finds this really difficult. Fraud detection, when I was in Santa Clara, I worked with PayPal. All PayPal's fraud detection platform is powered by humans. There's no computers in there. So Elon Musk created X.com, which is what PayPal is now. PayPal acquired X.com. And every single fraud for PayPal is human-led. And they lose billions in fraud just from not having an automated system. So it's in the organizations like Google, Facebook, PayPal, have the same challenges that your organization does. They're not any better at it. They still have legacy mainframe. So did X.com. It was all built on stuff that was 20, 30 years out of date. So it's not like you've got a disadvantage of where your insurance company is or not. Part of it is you can do this. And I've worked with the guys like Amex in the States, and their fraud detection is unbelievably good. And they then sell that off as a service to other customers like Barclaycard or whoever it is, who utilize their platform because it's so good at identifying fraud. So this idea of AI as a service, offering your service to then create open insurance technology would be kind of the way to rebadge your product that you deliver. So I think that's it. For the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I've kind of put don't panic. But yeah, you've got another 5 years or however long that was in that little curve. So 2 years, 5 years, 1 year, it's fine. Resistance is futile or something. So hopefully that gave you a bit of insight. I know I went massively over